Hello everyone, I am Adrenaline the Bazooka Prophet, CEO Adrenaline Global Online Tutorial Platform, a platform that has helped so many students preparing for GCSE examination, IGCSE, Cambridge A level, or any relevant examinations, right? We teach students in any part of the world. Now, in today's exciting video by Dr. Adrenaline the Bazooka Prophet, we're going to be talking about flower. I will start with the definition of a flower. Now, what is a flower? A flower is that part of the plant, right, where sexual reproduction takes place, or where reproduction takes place, or we can simply put it a bit like this: that a flower is the reproductive structure of a flowery plant. Now, in this particular video, right, you will actually understand our center of focus, which we are talking about the types of flowers. Now, a flower can be classified based on different features, such as what the flower contains, its positions, right, or whether it contains the male and the female reproductive organs, or its symmetry. Now, we start with the first classification, which is based on arrangement. Now, based on arrangement, a flower can either be inflorescence or solitary. Now, when do we say a flower is an inflorescence flower based on the arrangement? Now, listen to me now. A flower is said to be inflorescence when the many flowers, or when the group of flowers are attached to a common stalk or axis. A very good example is a very robust one we call the Pride of Barbados. The Pride of Barbados. Now, we talk about inflorescence now. And what about solitary? When do we say a flower is solitary? Now listen, a flower is said to be solitary, right, when it contains a single flower that is attached to either the leaf axis or the tip of the branch. I go again. I said a flower is said to be solitary when a single flower is attached to the leaf or the tip of the branch. And a very good example that I can tell you for free is what we call the hibiscus flower or the pawpaw flower. So both hibiscus flower and the pawpaw, which is the carica papaya, they are solitary flower. Now again, we move to based on their floral plant. Meaning a flower can be classified based on their floral parts. Now, when we should understand that there are 4 floral parts of a flower, and they are the calyx, right? We have the corolla. Listen now, the calyx, the corolla, the androecium, and the gynoecium. Now, what are calyx? Calyx are what class? Calyx are group of what now? Sepals. So a group of sepals are called calyx, but a group of petals are called what now? Corolla. Is that understood now? Now, while the androecium is the main reproductive part of the plant, which is made up of the stamens. But in the case of the gynoecium, it is the female reproductive part of the plant, and it includes what we call the carpels. Is that understood? Don't get it twisted. Now, we should understand some certain parts. Now, we've talked about the floral part, but remember it has an heading. The heading is based on the floral plant, and based on that, we have what we call the complete flower and the incomplete flower. When you say a flower is complete, they are simply saying that it contains all the 4 floral parts, which include again the calyx, the corolla, the androecium, and the gynoecium. Of course, when you now say that a flower is incomplete, we should be talking about when it lacks one or more of the floral parts, and we should always endeavor to note their examples. For example, a very good example of a complete flower is what we call the what now? Is what we call the hibiscus flower. Meaning the hibiscus flower is a very good example of the what now? Of a complete flower. While a very good example of the incomplete flower is also the maize and the pawpaw what flowers. And number 3 is based on the reproductive organs. Based on reproductive organs. Now, based on the reproductive organs, we talk about what we call a perfect flower and an imperfect what? Flower, right? A unisexual flower, and also what we call what now? A bisexual what? Flower. Please take note of that point. Right now, when do we say a flower is a perfect flower? Now, a flower is said to be perfect when it contains both the male and the female reproductive parts. That means it has both the carpel and the stamen. The stamen is the male connected to the androecium, and the carpel is the female connected to the gynoecium. Very good example is the what now? Is the hibiscus flower and also the pride of Barbados. We move to an imperfect flower. A flower is said to be imperfect when it lacks, right? When it lacks either the stamen or the carpel, meaning it should not contain both. It can either have one, right? It can either have the stamen or the carpel. A very good example is the maize flower. Now we move to what we call the bisexual what now? Flower. Now, a flower is said to be bisexual, which is also called an hermaphroditic flower, where it contains both the male and the female reproductive organs on the same flower. Take note, it is quite different. It is quite different from the perfect flower. Is that understood now? So, in the case of a bisexual flower, it contains both the male and the female organ born on the same flower. Of course, a very good example of a bisexual flower is the hibiscus flower, while it contains both the male and the female, or both the stamen and the carpel on the same flower. While for the unisexual flower, it has only one sex organ, right? It may be male or the female. So if it has only a stamen, it is, look at it. When a flower has only a stamen, it is called a staminate flower. But when it contains only a carpel, it is called the pistillate flower. A very good example of the female, of the unisexual, is the maize again, and also the purple flower. So in our next video, which is the part 2, we'll talk about the other classification. Thank you, and God bless you.